level. Like, I love it. I am that friend. I saw a meme the other day that said, all you're trying to do is go out and have a good time, but then you have that one friend that keeps asking deep questions. Like, I'm that friend.
What is up, guys? Thank you for taking the time to listen to the podcast and watch another podcast episode of The Talking Block Live. As you see, we have another special guest here, so if she doesn't mind introducing herself, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Renika Cheney, originally from New Orleans, currently residing in Charlotte, and I'm excited to be with you today, Nate.
Thank you. What part? Charlotte, what? North Carolina?
North Carolina.
I'm not too far from. I'm Jacksonville, North Carolina. Okay.
Ah,
Yes.
nice.
So before we get into it, you do, as you briefly told me, you do not have a podcast, but you do have a business. So I just want to let all the listeners know that, the Talking Block Live, it's not just for podcasters in general. It's for anybody to share their story, to share their experience, to share their journey through what they do and how they do it. So I just wanted to let everybody know that the Talking Block Live, yes, it is podcasters. Yes, it is podcast, but it's not just that's not the general topic. That's not what I shoot for. I just shoot for the general amount of people to get and to tell their story.
I do interview cool people from time to time, so you can see that on my social media.
And what exactly is it that you do?
It is called Renika Speaks, and it is my public speaking business. So a lot of people will hire me to come on and tell my story, which is a pretty dynamic and interesting story. And also, I talk to people about healing from abuse. I talk to people about becoming a speaker, just some tips on that, talking about relationships, healthy relationships, and what they look like.
When interacting with others, what's your biggest goal? So what do you take from these interactions with different people?
Yeah, my biggest goal, one, just in life when I'm interacting with people, I'm really good at what I do, right? So I like in speaking and hosting and facilitating. My goal is really just to get to know a person on a deeper level. Like, I love it. I am that friend. I saw a meme the other day that said, all you're trying to do is go out and have a good time, but then you have that one friend that keeps asking deep questions. Like, I'm that friend. Like, I just want to know more about you. What motivates you? What makes you tick? Like, what are you good at? And I've always been like that. So, yeah.
When you're interacting, what's your go-to kind of first impression? Where you like to put the conversations towards? Is it just, them themselves, the people that you're interacting with, their situations? Is it how you guys are coming to meet? Where exactly do you like to drive the conversations?
Just kind of in the everyday conversation with someone?
Yes.
Yeah, so I will likely ask you questions about yourself. That's just who I am. I will likely ask, kind of what you do, what motivates you to do that. What do you love about, what you do? And that can be work, that can be anything. So that's where the conversation will lean whenever I'm talking to somebody, most likely.
Through your experiences, where did you realize that this was for you? Where did, that kind of pinpoint in your life say, hey, I like what I'm doing. I appreciate, the interactions. I enjoy just being around people. This is what I want to do.
Let's see. I would say, honestly, through friends when I was really young, they were always like, you always the one that's asking questions. You always are the one that's asking something deeper. And so now the fact that I get to get hired to do it, to talk to people, to have deeper conversations, I think it's something I've known since I was younger, but it's so fun. I think people are intriguing. I also think we're only here for a short period of time. So I think it's interesting to see what motivates people. Like, what gets someone up in the day and they say, like, this is my mission for the day. Like, this is what motivates me. I think that's really interesting. And then through my story of, encountering just domestic abuse, now I have the ability to sit down with other people, kind of talk to my story and walk them through their own difficult situations as well. And so a lot of what I do is listening to other people, right? Being a listening ear.
I think a lot of motivation. So my question to you is, what was your motivation? What pushes you not what was, but what is your motivation? What pushes you to do what you're doing now?
Absolutely. So my motivation is nothing less than Jesus Christ. Like, knowing that this life is not the only life that we have. I have 5 children as well. And so I'm really big on legacy. And so every day, most days when I wake up, I try to. I'm not perfect at it, but it is, what can I do in today, right? That will reap kingdom benefits, something for eternity, something that's not just in this life. So whether that is, I believe love is something that is lasting, right? So how can I teach my children love? Love is patient, it's kind, it's not
Right.
being rude, right? How can I teach those things? The things that we cannot see are the things that I think are usually the most important and the long lasting things. And so when I wake up, I'm like, even when I'm doing this with you, Nate, I'm like, how can I bring joy, which I think is like one of those virtues, right, to your podcast. And so those are the things that I think are lasting when you meet people. What are those internal things that they leave with you?
Nice. When going into the what you're doing now, so you're speaking, you interacting with these people. What was your first impression? Were you timid? Were you just automatically off the charts, ready to go? Did you have your doubts? Where did you start off? What
Yeah.
was the difference between now and then?
Yeah, when I started like my business and interacting with people.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So I'm talking about difficult things, right? I'm talking to people who have been in abusive relationships, difficult things. I'm talking about my story being the mother of 5 who had to leave a marriage to be safe. And so when I decided to talk to other people and help them, the thing was, wait, but I'm not a therapist. I don't have a license. I may not know all the things about how the brain works. What if I mess it up? And it's like, I don't need to know all those things, more information than I did before, right? I know what the cycles of abuse look like, so I can tell that to someone. I know what the cycle of equality looks like, so I can tell that to someone. There are some resources here where I live in Charlotte where I can tell someone. And so just those little things, if I didn't know those things before, then surely there's someone else who doesn't know. And then I have that information and I can give it to them. And I think that empowered me from thinking that, oh, I don't have the degrees to do all of this and that if I tell people the wrong information, but I do have information, right? I do have what helped me and what other people gave me, and where others don't have to scramble to find that information like I did. I can freely, give it and direct people and show them where to go. So I think that was the difference between saying, but I have to know all the things and saying, well, start with what you know. What do you know? And what can you give to other people to bless them?
And I want to piggyback off of that question.
Yeah.
So from start to finish, and finish being where you are now, what is something that has stayed the same through this whole journey that you just absolutely love?
Good. Oh, I love that. I think one of the things that has stayed the same is no matter how difficult is my desire to want to see beauty. So I'm originally from New Orleans, right? And like when I think of that place, I think of a joyous people who are going to find any reason to dance, any reason to have fun, any
Right.
reason to break out some good food. And so I would say I think that's one of the things that even though I've had like really difficult times, I still long to have fun. I still long to find the joy. I still long to turn on some music and dance. I still long for beauty. Yeah.
And kind of playing devil advocate here,
Yeah. Okay.
when, again, start from finish, so starting where you were to now, what is something that you would prepare for? And that was a difficulty, but you would not change.
I was not prepared to leave a marriage with 5 children and pregnant with the 5th. I was not prepared for any of that, none of that. And part of me is like, people say they wouldn't change anything. I'm like, I don't know. That was really difficult. But I think I learned some really great lessons. Like when you're in abusive situations, you don't really know who you are. You spend a lot of your time trying to please the other person, trying to make sure the other person is good so that you can feel safe and everything is okay. But I will say that like through this journey, I've come to know what I like, what I love, who I am. And I think that is the best thing that I could do for myself, but also 5 little children, right? Well, not so little now, but so I think that is something that I could say that I'm really grateful to have learned is more about me.
I don't want to, I feel like this conversation would be something separate, but I'm learning things. And if you don't mind sharing a little bit, I want to, kind of stay on the way of where you are now, but through kind of, I want to dig deep, I guess you could say, is
Yeah, go for it.
when in this abusive relationship, was there a point in time where you realized that you were becoming a different person to what you are now, which led to you wanting to do these things? Or did it take time after you got out that you realized, okay, this is who I'm becoming, this is my image, and this is what I want to do?
It's a great question. I've done a lot of like these interviews and podcasts, and I don't know that I've gotten that one.
Thank you.
And I will say, yeah, you doing your thing. Yeah. I will definitely say that there was a period because I think it's so gradual, right? When you're going through it, it's gradual and you're like, oh man, the things I used to like, well, I'm probably not going to be able to do them anymore. So let me look this way. And, So just really sad. My therapist really asked me, she said, I want you to look back on that 20-year-old who was in that relationship and how was she? And my whole countenance changed, my therapist said. I got really sad because I remember that being a really, really just sad person, thinking that all my hopes of what I wanted to do and all my dreams, they're gone because now I'm like this mom, I'm married, and I don't get to do the things that I wanted to do. And so I look back on that very sad, someone who I'm really grateful for, but just sad, like a sad countenance. And like I said, being from New Orleans, like you go around those people, they're like joyous people. Like where I come from, it could be hard. A hurricane could be coming to pass through with somebody grilling something. And so it's like I'm used to that, but I became like really just sad, just very different than, what I guess my usual kind of personality is. Yeah.
And staying on this topic, was there a time where and let me ask this question first. How many children did you have at the moment that this was going on?
Yeah. So by the time I left, I was pregnant with our fifth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in that time, did you feel like you had to not only separate from yourself, but also from your children because you were scared of or afraid of what they might have seen and experienced along with you?
Yeah, no, I didn't have the feeling of like, oh, I need to separate, from my children. It felt more like, how do I help myself and how do I help them? It felt more like a lost, right? Mm-hmm. A loss of what do I do? How do I help all of us? Like, what do I do with all of us and for all of us? So yeah, it felt more like that.
So it's origin hero story, and now you gotta, no longer is it playing defensive, but now you have to play offensive.
I don't know if I ever thought about it like that. Yeah. It does become this thing of now you're out here and how do you maneuver? How do you, reach the goals that you want to reach? And not only that, you've never done this before. So that's good. Okay.
So we're I think, oh my goodness, I kind of lost the words because I don't want to base my questions off of my iPad. I want to be original. We've talked about, your business. We talked about a little bit about your I can get it up, your altercations in your marriages. Yeah. But I want to kind of base it off now where you're going. What are some goals for your future and your career now that you've seen where you've been through these tough situations, you're now building again. What's next for you as in what you do for your business? What's next for possibly a podcast, sharing your experiences or just interacting with people?
Absolutely. So a part of that is me sitting with you, right? Like us having this conversation, and I've been able to be on several podcasts and talk to people and share my story. And so that's one of the things that I want to do is be able to give out resources and talk to people, right? And my website is Renika Speaks. So if people want to reach out to me, having more about what it looks like to go through the cycles of abuse, I really want to make an impact. Like that's literally the goal, is to make an impact and to leave a legacy. The first thing for me is a legacy of faith. I have 5 children. They won't always be in the home, right? They're slowly growing, quickly growing up, and will be out. And so leaving that foundation of faith for them. And part of that is they get to see what I'm doing, right? Like I'm leaving a legacy. I'm reaching back to help people. And so leaving that legacy of faith in Christ is like my main goal. And then also being able to help other people, like through my business, would love for it to expand more, continuing to partner with conferences and churches and going to those places and making sure that we care for people really well, right? People who are in difficult situations, that we don't use things like spiritual bypassing and things that further harm people, but what can we do to help people? So my main thing is for my business to grow because I know the impact that it can make, right? So it's all about impact and then leaving a legacy with my children so that when I am not here, my children's children may not know my name, but they will have felt what I have left here. Yeah.
Now, what was your goal? We'll say high school. What was your goal in high school, and what it is now, and what changed that direction that you were taking?
That's good. So I've always wanted to be in communications, right? I always wanted to speak and do all that. So I majored in broadcast journalism in college. Shout out to Loyola, New Orleans. And I did not go that way because it just felt like the news was really hard and really difficult. And so, just really sad. And I actually met a broadcaster who had come by somewhere where I was to do a news story, and I was working with kids at that time, and I said, you should do a story on the kids. And she said something along the effect of, no one wants to really see good news. And that like kind of crushed me as a young person. Everybody wants to see the bad and what's going on. And that kind of crushed me. And so I definitely knew I didn't necessarily want to go in that direction, but now in the direction of just really still wanting to speak just because it's a gift. It's a natural gift. And then, working with kids, I guess kids seems to be my thing too. So, but speaking has always been my thing because I know it's been a gift. It's just like, what do I speak about? That's what it was in high school. And it's like, who knew I would have this story to speak about?
You did skip one of my questions. I want to go back.
Yeah, go back to
How long does it normally take you to come up with some of the topics that you talk about in your public speaking with others? And like, what does your makeup look like? So how do you plan it out?
Ooh, that's a good question. So usually if someone wants me to speak, it's because they already have the topic, right? They already have the topic of something along like mindset shifting, single parenthood. I went into tech for a little bit, so sometimes there'll be conversations around that. So usually I'll have the topic, and then my mindset is I kind of start with the end in mind, right? What do I want people to learn from this? And then I kind of break it down maybe into like 3 sections. And then I always try to include, because that's the way our brains are wired, right? We remember story more than we remember facts just spit out at us. So I try to be creative. I'm a creative at heart. I might have pictures up on the PowerPoint or something to engage people. So yeah, it's a good question.
What is one of your coolest experiences this year that you've done in your career?
Ooh, coolest experiences. I don't know if I've had a super cool experience. Actually, let me think. This year, we're only in April, we're almost in May. Let's see. Oh, I got signed to an agency this year, which I'm really excited about. So before I was kind of working on my own, and now I have an agency that assigned me Hey Red. So that is pretty exciting. Yeah.
Was this like an agency where it's through public speaking, but they kind of like send you out places to speak?
Yeah. Exactly. And that recently happened. So
And what have you gotten from that so far? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I'm excited about being in different spaces that maybe would not have gotten on my own, and just a wider reach. Yeah.
And do you think that this could be a setup for you to do your own thing, or just kind of a setup to move farther into the public speaking arena?
Yeah, I think further into the public speaking arena, because I do have my own business, right? It's my own public speaking business, but I think this will help me to be in spaces that maybe I would not normally see on my own, or just that they know that I don't necessarily know. So yeah.
And going through the questions here, make sure I kind of touched on everything. We'll bring it back just a little bit. Have you thought about making a podcast? Because through your story, I feel that there's so much stuff to it. Have you thought about making a podcast, kind of just, even if it is by yourself, just kind of sharing that experience, allowing people to hear, and then that's your interaction for those who can't speak to you or directly?
Yes, I think about it all the time. I think about it all the time. I just interviewed a friend and the CEO of Uncommon, right? They work with men, and that was so fun interviewing him. And I'm like, I love asking people questions, and there is so much that I want to tell people. So if it's even just me going on talking, about a particular topic, yes, the answer is yes, I have. What is stopping me? I don't know the answer.
What do you think the title would be when you came up with a title?
Ooh, I don't. Nate, you have the good questions. I would have to think about that. I did try to like kind of start a podcast in the past, and it was called Tap In. So it was just kind of like, instead of getting out of the ring, we're in here and we're gonna like face our emotions. We're gonna face everything. We're gonna tap into life. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, kind of to wrap it up, what is your biggest not motivation. What is your biggest move that has left you in shock from where you have started to where you are now?
Yeah, I would say one of the things that I'm most proud of, like outside of kind of like family, kids and all that, is buying a home. When you're in a situation like I was talking about, it's like you don't think for yourself really. You don't really own anything, and you're kind of like, can I do anything at all? Like, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Do I know enough? And so to be able to buy a home for me and my children, I feel like that is something that I am like just really excited about. I haven't taken that step. And I mean, that was almost 4 years ago, but it's something that every time I touch the doorknob, I just say, thank you, God. So, yeah.
And what is your advice to anybody that is watching that might have been through domestic violence experiences, that is growing their business, that is, kind of stuck right now on what they want to do? What is your advice to them?
Yeah, so my advice, I can only say what I have kind of gone through is one, all keep leaning into those feelings. Like lean into the I feel hurt today, I feel sad today. Like don't run away from those things. Feel all the things that you need to feel. And that's not like the happiest thing, right? Like the happy ending, but I think it was so important for me to feel all the things that I felt. Lord, I feel sad right now. I mean, on my knees, right? All the tears that I've cried, like those tears are now watering me and blessings. So, like on my knees, God, I need your help, God. Like, what is happening? I'm confused. I don't know what to do. So, that would be it. It's just like being honest with where we are, being honest with the fact that we need help, that you can't do it by yourself. And if possible, to have good community around you, whether that is friends. Some people don't have family they can really talk to like that. Maybe you have a good friends. Maybe it's a group somewhere. Maybe it's a divorce care group. Maybe it's a codependency group. Whatever it is, like find some type of community. If you like art, find an art group. Just some type of community where you can connect with people and just keep tapping into like who you are internally, getting to know you and looking out for, those resources, those things that we need. And I know I was able to find here in Charlotte just a lot of free resources that was able to help me and help my children. If you want to know something, like look for that thing to be able to help you if you have children. And hopefully there's good people around. That is my prayer for people, is that they have good people around them to come and to help and to be at their aid. So yeah.
Before we end, I want you to go ahead and shout out your socials, your business, so that everybody knows who you are, what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my name is Renika Cheney. My business is Renika Speaks. You can find me on social media at Renika Speaks everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Renika Cheney on LinkedIn, and my website is Renika Speaks. And from there, you'll see more about my story. You'll see that I have coaching sessions. I'm really enjoying doing workshops with groups. So if you have friends or family who's like, listen, we need to learn a little bit more about abuse, like just teach us what this means, then I love doing that. I'm a facilitator and a host, which I absolutely love. So hit me up for your event if you're looking for somebody to lead that, to just guide it, just kind of take it over and make the event great. I would love to do that. My whole goal is to make an impact while I'm here. So Renika Speak.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I appreciate you, Miss Renika, for joining me today and the wonderful conversation we've had. For everybody watching, Miss Renika's fans and my fans, we just appreciate you. We love you. I love this. It was a shift because, kind of had me jump off my seat a little bit because there was a lot of original questions that weren't in my iPad. So I appreciate that. I just appreciate the time that you have taken. I appreciate you guys for watching and taking the time to listen, and just be tuned in for whatever is next on the Talking Block. Make sure to check out Miss Renika and everything that she has for any, domestic violence, whether it is for you or for somebody that that is the biggest thing. Is not just to speak up for yourself, but to speak up for those that that are experiencing, that that are experiencing. Thank you guys, and I just see you next time.
Thank you.